Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Kat, and for today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Berlin Underground palette, which is from NOMAD Cosmetics, and this was a fairly highly requested video that you guys were wanting me to do, but I did give one of my viewers the choice on like the format for the video because she was the first one to request it. And so the format that we're going to use for this is going to be exactly the same as what I did for the Iceland palette from Nomad Cosmetics, where I just talk about my travels throughout that particular country. So since you guys like that format, that's what we're going to do again today. Here is the palette. Yes. It's so pretty, and this is, if you are into grungy shades, this is your gal. Lots and lots of grungy greens, yellows, golds, kind of silvery tones up top there, some browns. It's gonna be an interesting one for today for sure. I think I'm gonna do the same thing again where I'm gonna do two different eye looks so we can try and maximize the number of shades that we are using, and we're gonna swatch everything first. And real quick before we do that, two different things. I do have three other palettes from Nomad Cosmetics for my neutral lovers out there. Since I know a few of you guys are more into neutrals than colors, I do have the Tuscany palette that they have here, which is just all neutrals, beautiful palette. And then I do also, on the not neutral side for Italy, have this guy, which is the Lago di Como, which is your blues and greens as well. And so if you guys liked today's video, if you liked the Iceland one and you want for me to do one on Italy, I can do that as well for you guys. And then this is just a fun one that I could also throw in that is the Studio 54. It's just a little quad, but these are all duochromes. Duochromes or multichromes? It says multichromes. They're multichromes. And so if you guys want me to do a video on those, I definitely can. But for today's video, we're going to be doing the Berlin Underground, so Germany. And I do have two additional products that I'm going to show you guys real quick. For my face, I have not done my highlighter yet because I wanted to show you guys this. This is from Badass Beauties. It's the Mre Highlighting Palette. And Badass Beauties, for those of you that don't know, is a company, it's an indie brand that is owned by a Marine veteran. The palettes that they come out with are all like sort of military themed. This is like all about the MRE, and so it's hilarious because like the names of the shades are like peanut butter, pound cake, apple butter, the wheat snack bread that we all know and love, maple muffin, and the instant cappuccino powder that you can get in an MRE. So for my military lovers out there that have all had the joy of snacking on MREs, this'll bring up some fun memories for you. And so I thought I would just throw on one of the highlighters for you guys real quick after having shown you guys. This is the interior. I swatched it on my Instagram, but for today, I think I'm gonna go with the instant cappuccino one. So we're just gonna throw that on my face real quick. And these are definitely glowy highlighters. So now that I am sufficiently glowing. The other product that I wanted to show you guys real quick is from another indie brand. It's Glossy. I have three different glosses on here. And the cute thing about these, I don't know if any of you guys are big fans of boba teas, but I love them. They're delicious. And this makeup brand made their lip glosses after boba teas. And so they have this guy that's like in a little adorable milk bottle. It has boba balls down at the bottom. They're obviously not real, but they're down there, and it's got like a really pretty purplish shimmer to it. Oh, it smells super sweet as well. And then there's one that's a little honey shaped little guy on here also with the little boba beads at the bottom. Oh, that definitely smells like honey. That is super good. And then the last one I don't think has any boba balls at the bottom, but it's just this nice kind of brownish gloss. This guy has a thicker doe foot than the others did. I had forgotten what flavor this was. It's hot chocolate. I almost want to use that one just for that, but I think that that's going to be too deep of a shade to be using for today since we're going to have like a fairly grungy look going on, and so I think I am going to use the honey one as the gloss for today. That is super lightweight as far as glosses go. That feels very nice. I will say, however, that the application with such a small little handle thing on here is a little bit like you're gonna bump your lips, but my mouth tickles a little bit. But the feel of it, it is not sticky at all. It is super duper lightweight and just has a real nice light gloss to it. So highly recommend that. Highly recommend going checking them out. Yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into the Nomad palette now, because now that I've talked for like 10 minutes straight. All right, we are going to swatch this bad boy first, and then we will get into the look. All right, and as I am doing the look, that's when I'll talk about my travels through Germany. So the first shade that we have on here is Kreuzberg, and that is this beautiful white shade that's kind of shimmery. It's got a little bit, I would say, just a tiny bit of a yellow tint to it, almost a limey yellow. Then the next shade is going to be SO36, and that is this guy. That's our first grungy green. That's a very nice olivey green. Then we have the Wall, and that is this guy, just a nice light silvery gray shade. I would say that that has actually just ever so slight, a little bit of a tan undertone to it, but it is primarily, it looks like kind of a silver shade. Then we have East Side Gallery, which is definitely a deeper gray, and I think this guy has ever so slight a bluish undertone, but that could also maybe be more of like a teal undertone so that it goes better with the green, but definitely a very nice silver shade. Then we have Techno, which is definitely more of a gray shade on there. So now you can definitely see this guy has a little bit more of a teal bluish undertone, whereas this one has more of a brownish deep gray undertone. And then the third is NDW, which stands for Neue Deutsche Welle. And that is this guy, and I kind of messed that up over my wrist joint there. Let's finish that swatch a little better. And there you go. That is that, guys. So definitely more of a turquoisey greenish blue. Then we have the shade Helden, which is a nice goldish metallic, a little bit on the light side there. And then we have Poor But Sexy, which is going to be a deeper gold. Oh yeah. And then we have Tacheles, which is going to be more of your brick red. You get a little bit more on there to deepen that guy up. There you go. Very nice brick shade. Next up we have Love Parade, which in the pan that looks almost like it has a little bit of like an eggplanty purple undertone, but as I'm looking at it here, it's definitely just more brownish dark gray. Then we have Deutschpunkt, or not Deutschpunkt, I added a T on there, it's just Deutschpunkt. So that's kind of a limey green. And then we have Chaostage, which is a little bit more of a mustardy gold, whereas this guy's more limey with a green, this guy's more limey with a yellow, I think. So the last three shades, we have Oranienstrasse, which is a lighter brown matte shade. And the other two matte shades, since I did not mention before, it looks like Neue Deutsche Welle, so NDW, is a matte shade, and this brick shade, Tacheles, I'm fairly certain is also a matte shade. And then we have Hansa, which is another really awesome olivey kind of metallic. So I'd say this guy's a little bit deeper of an olive than that guy. He's a little bit lighter. And then the last shade is Clubnacht, which is just your nice quintessential deep black shade on there. That also looks like it's a bit more of a matte shade rather than a metallic. So here is the entirety of the palette. We've got lots of really interesting tones to work with, but I think what we are going to end up doing is I am going to do more of a silvery green look on the one eye and then a goldish brown look on the other eye. But let's go ahead and get started, and then I will start talking about my favorite places in Germany, because even though I'm from Germany and I just spent the last 3.5 years-ish living there. Berlin is like the one city that I've driven through there, but I have not stopped. So I'm not going to be able to talk about Berlin, but there are going to be a couple other cities that I will be able to talk to, so that's where we're going to go down with that road. The first place that I want to talk about is going to be one of my newest favorite places to go to in Germany, just because the other 3 places that I'm going to talk about are places that I've been going to from childhood on, and so I figure we'll start with the most recent favorite and then kind of go backwards from there. And so that first city that has become quite a favorite of mine is Garmisch, which is down in Bavaria, very close to the border between Germany and Austria. And so you are in that area where you have huge mountainous areas with the Alps, and the scenery out there is just absolutely gorgeous. Just driving to get to Garmisch is already just absolutely beautiful and amazing. There's just mountain ranges as you're driving that, oh my gosh, they are so beautiful. I think I'm gonna start with the wall on the inner portion of this eye to start that kind of greenish silver look, and then we'll move out from there, and then I'm going to use the greenish turquoise matte shade on my under eye to add a little bit more of a pop of color. So in Garmisch, there are lots and lots of things to do. First thing that I can mention, since I was already talking about the mountains, is that you can go skiing out there. They have gondolas that will take you up to the top of the mountains, and so they have the Alpenspitze, which is the highest point within Garmisch that you can go. If you are not wanting to go all the way up into the mountains, they do have within Garmisch access to slopes that are just right there at the base, and so you don't have to go very far or even go that high up. And so if you are someone that's a little bit intimidated by the height of the mountains, you can just go skiing, sledding, whatever you want on the lower level there as well. Okay, next shade that I'm gonna jump into for the center of the eye is going to be that SO36, which is this a little bit deeper olivey tone right there. I've done night sledding. They do offer that as well, so that was a really fun thing to do because it was literally just like hardly anyone was on the mountain, and it was just that quiet stillness that you get where it's just like, you know how like right after it's snowed and you go outside and it's like the snow has just sucked up the sound? It's just calm and quiet, and that's it. It was like that out there. These 2 shades, BT Dubs, are blending really nicely together so far. And then I think for the outer corner, I am going to go into Techno, which is this darker metallic shade. The town of Garmisch, because it is fairly small, also just has tons and tons of shopping that you can do. They have several stores that sell the Bavarian style of clothing that is very popular. It is called Trachtenmode, which is essentially the dirndls, the lederhosen that you can get, and they have just a bunch of different stores. Some of them sell more of just the traditional garb, some of them sell more modernized spins on Trachtenmode, and so it's really kind of cool to see all the different types that you can get. And so in this picture, I have more of the modernized type outfits that you can get that are of the Trachtenmode style. And then in this picture, I'm just wearing your classic dirndl. But it is very fun to go and try out all of those different types of styles. All right, so I think for the bottom, we're gonna add in that teal shade. And then if it ends up being too much of a color, I might tone it down with this medium gray tone here, which is the East Side Gallery shade. They also have just some of the most amazing restaurants out there. When you think about like the types of foods that you can get at German restaurants in the States, they're very much usually focused around the quintessential Bavarian food, which is like your pig's meat type foods, your schnitzels, things like that. Primarily, I don't know, I said pig's meat, it's pork. I didn't really grow up eating a ton of that. I grew up more so eating the different types of wild game meat that you would come across if you were to live more in the woodsy areas. So I grew up deer, stag meat, wild boar, rabbit. That is the type of meat that I enjoy. It's actually not as like turquoisey green as I was expecting it to be, but I think I'm still gonna go into that East Side Gallery just to add a little bit more gunmetal to it. And then for the inner corner, we're going to be tapping into this awesome shade, Kreuzberg. Oh yeah, especially with that top portion of the lid, Kreuzberg blends very, very nicely. Let me throw on liner real quick, and I think I'm going to go with this grungy green from Urban Decay. And in addition to the really nice food that they have out there, they also have in the winter time, and this is kind of everywhere in Germany, they would also have Christmas markets, and they're absolutely lovely. I mean, Christmas lights everywhere, trees everywhere. They have stands that you can go to and pick up pretty much whatever things you could think of for Christmas. They have all kinds of ornaments, and the food stands are amazing, so you can get really, really cool stands that'll have different types of meat that you can eat. They also have stands where you can get Glühwein, which is essentially heated up malt wine. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I'm not a big wine drinker, and so usually when I would go to those stands, I wouldn't get the wine. They do have non-alcoholic versions that you can get, and so I would usually either get a hot chocolate or a hot cider. And then sometimes they would also, if you went to some of them and they were extra fancy, they would have this like heated up fruit punch flavor drink that you could get. So some of the cities that are most well known for their Christmas markets, Munich has like 8 different ones within the city. And so if you're doing a trip to Garmisch, I would actually recommend tying in a trip to Munich while you're at it, because it's only about, what, like a little over an hour's drive north of Garmisch to get to Munich. And so it's really not bad at all. There's like this one highway as soon as you get out of Garmisch that just takes you straight to it. So it's a really, really easy drive. So you can hit up the Christmas markets that are out there, because they have like all these different themed ones that you can go to. I think when my mom and I went, we only really had time to go to the main one that's right in front of the cathedral that they have, but they have all different ones. Like I think there's one that's just a pink Christmas market where like all the lights and everything for the decorations are just pink. They have a medieval one, just all kinds of different things. All right, for this other eye, yeah, I think we're gonna go more of the golds and coppery tones on this eye. And so I think I'm going to start off with the shade Helden, which is this more yellowy light gold tone. So along with Garmisch, 3 of the cities that are my childhood favorites, and even my favorites still to this day, are Trier, which is in Rhineland-Palatinate, or Rheinland-Pfalz for my German folks out there, and then Hamburg up in northern Germany, and the island of Juist, which is, I would say, like right off the northwestern coast of Germany. And if you have not heard of Juist before, but you are familiar with the islands that are up there even somewhat, Norderney is the larger island that is right next to it. Juist is very, very small, and so you are only able to have bicycles and horse-drawn carriages out there. They have, I think, 2 vehicles, one of which is for the fire department, and then one of which is for the doctor that is on the island, and then everyone else just either walks, rides their bike, or they've got horse-drawn carriages to like get things around for the grocery stores and things like that. But Juist is the one that I've been going to since I was about 4 years old. So that was kind of like the summer vacation spot that my family would go to every year. For the middle of the eye, I think I'm gonna dive into Chaos Tage, which is more of this like medium brownish shade. In addition to the island just being super duper small, so you just kind of ride your bike everywhere or walk, you take either a boat or a plane to get there. They're super duper fun to take if you just want to kind of see the landscape around the island and how cool it looks, especially if the tide is out. It's really, really fun to fly over it, because you just can see like the ground like everywhere, and it's such a perilous boat ride when you think about it, because they can't just go straight from the mainland to get to the island. They have to like zigzag back and forth just because of how shallow certain portions of the water have gotten. What you would think would be like a 20-minute boat ride maximum turns into like an hour and a half because of that. For the outer corner, I'm gonna go into the shade Hansa. So when you're on the island, the beaches are very, very nice. It does get super duper windy out there, but like my mom's favorite time to be out there is when it's super duper stormy, just because it is absolutely amazing just to watch the waves just come crashing in. And they have like these little beach baskets that you can rent where you can sit in them. Strandkorbe, it would be the German term for them. So we would always every summer just rent one of those and then hang out in it, and we would build like entryways to get to ours and like sand castles around it and everything, so everyone knew this is occupado, this is ours. So along with the island, Hamburg is definitely also one of my favorite cities up north, just because I grew up there. My grandmother lived in Hamburg for a very long time, and so that was like one of the primary places that I would go and visit. And so like all of my childhood friends are from Hamburg. It's just a really cool city because it kind of sort of reminds me of Venice in a way, because since it is a harbor city, you're going to be right on the water, and there are canals that go through the city, and so you'll have some businesses that work in those canals. And so it's literally like you'll be sitting in your office and like look out the window and the water is like right there. And then having the bridges over the canals that you can kind of walk over to get to the different parts of the city. Oh, for the bottom under eye, I am going into Oranienstrasse, which is that matte brown shade right there. There's also a massive lake in the center of the city that is known as the Alster. That stretches for many, many miles. In downtown, where the Alster finishes, there's a massive fountain there. There's like, they have regattas for crew teams and just all kinds of water sports going on. Sailboats will be out in there, and it's just really kind of cool to see all of that. And so it's a very popular spot for people when they're like on their lunch break to go out and sit in the different cafes and restaurants that are along the Alster. So you can just kind of be looking out at it and watch the activities that are going on. I might add the Poor But Sexy gold shade on top of this, just to add a little bit more of a gold tint to it. And then I think for the inner corner, yet again, we're gonna go into Kreuzberg just to kind of see if it changes the tone up at all, because we definitely have more of a greenish grunge and then a brownish gold grunge. And so let's see what that does. So I think real quick, just to talk briefly about the last city that I grew up going to is Trier, and that is in the southwestern portion. It's also the oldest city in Germany. It was the gateway to the Roman Empire back in the day, and so there are still a ton of Roman ruins that you can see within the city. The most prominent Roman ruin that they have there that people like to get pictures in front of is what's translated as the Black Gate, and so it's just this massive ruin that is still in front of it that still has some of that black tint to it. They still have the old Roman baths are there that you can go and visit. It's also the city that Karl Marx is from, and so his house is there that you can go and visit. They have a little museum in it that you can walk through. I'm gonna throw in a brownish liner on this eye and then toss the mascara on. One of my favorite things actually in Trier is one of the bakeries they have there called Raab, R-A-A-B, and they have 2 locations in the city that you can go to, but the one that I went to is the one that is outside of the inner portion of the city, because they have one that's like on the main Hauptmarkt, so the main square. That's the one that it has more of a restaurant attached to it, so you can get a lot more food options, but I feel like the bakery options are somewhat lessened because it is coupled with a restaurant. And so my favorite one to go to is one that is slightly more outside of the inner portion of the city, and that one just has tons and tons of cakes free to choose from, all different kinds of things. And I think that's one of the things that I miss the most with Germany is just the bakeries and the cakes. And so that is one of my favorite places to go to, where we would literally every Sunday we would get cakes from there and then have that for breakfast. So yes, my family did grow up allowing me to have cake for breakfast on Sundays. And one of the things that we would do that was my absolute favorite is they have the White House forest that is up there, so Weißhauswald. We would go up there and just go running because there's trails all around there where you could go like for miles and miles on trail runs. And they also had like a little animal sanctuary where you could go and see like little baby wild boars being born, see deer and goats and all kinds of other cute stuff. It's named the White House Forest because there's just this massive white house that is right on the cliff looking over the Mosel, and so the forest is like back up headed into the woodsy area away from the cliffs, but you get such an awesome view of Trier as you are going up towards the White House to get to the forest. That was my favorite thing to do there. These are the two different eye looks. Let me go ahead and come in close so you guys can see what we're looking at here. So we have more of a greenish silver cool toned look on my right eye, and then more warm toned brownish gold on the left. I think both looks are very, very cool. I am more preferential towards the green just because I really like green looks, but I think it's super cool to be able to do whatever kind of grunge look you want. I actually kind of think that this Kreuzbach shade, not only does it work really, really well on the inner corner, I think that would make a stunning highlight. And so I love when companies include shades that would make a good highlight on top of a pop of color on the inner corner. So I love this palette. It's definitely one of my favorites to go with just because I love grungy greens and just grunge in general. Let me know what you guys thought down below. If you guys are interested in having me do something similar for the Italy palettes that I have from NOMAD Cosmetics, let me know. I'm more than happy to do that. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video. If you like the format, I'm so glad that you guys asked for me to do another one of these in this type of format. I love talking about the places that I've gone and sharing that with you guys so that if you want to go to those places, you know some of the things to go and look for. But yeah, this was my video on the Berlin Underground, and if you made it to the end of the video and you have not yet subscribed, I would love it if you would subscribe. I really try and let my subscribers tell me what they want me to do for my videos, just because this is as much your guys' channel as it is mine, and so the more things you guys toss out to me that you want to see, the more I'm going to do those. And so please feel free to subscribe, join my family on here, let me know what kinds of things that you want to see from makeup. We do a lot about indie brands, lots of different colors. And yeah, this is my NOMAD Cosmetics video too. You guys just go have a good one.